it is an incredible resume when you look at what he's achieved at Liverpool, looking at the team he took over and the team he'll be leaving at the end of the season. It is quite the contrast. As we welcome in, Mark Ogden's with us, as is Frank Leboeuf, and live from his first day on holiday. Steve
Why
Nicol,
couldn't you have done it yesterday?
Steve Nicol joins us. Stevie, let's get your reaction first.
You know, the first thing that came in my head when I saw the news was, what do we do now? I mean, that was exactly where I went. What do we do now? You know, this is not just a change of a manager. You know, Jurgen Klopp has put himself in a position where a club the size of Liverpool, it's almost, when you think of Liverpool now, you go straight to Klopp. You know, the club's nearly 150 years old. There's only been 3 managers that, regardless of whether you're 100 years old or a year old, you think of Shankly, you think of Paisley, and you think of Dalglish. Well, now, Jurgen Klopp is in that group. That's how good and how important this guy has been to Liverpool. You know, the holy grail for 30 years was to win the English Championship, which was now the Premier League. And outside of Liverpool, you don't understand how much pain Liverpool fans and teams and managers and coaches went through with that question of, when are you going to win the league? When are you going to win the league? This guy answered all those questions. And, I mean, how do you replace him? As I said, the first thing I said was, what now? And I don't know what the answer to that is, quite honestly.
And we'll talk about who's next in a moment. But Craig, what was your initial reaction?
Well, obviously it was surprising news because nobody saw it coming middle of the season, a season where they've recovered from last year and are flying at this moment in time. But when you heard them talk, and it was from the heart, and he's not doing this because he wants to leave Liverpool with the issue that Stevie talked about. He's doing it because I think he feels it's just taking its toll on him. Mm-hmm. That he's not run out of gas, but he's running out of gas. And he doesn't feel that he'll be able to give the commitment that he's given for this 8.5 years of turning this club around into one of the big, you know, this team around into a team that's won the Premier League, won the Champions League, won domestic cup competitions in England, just seems to be going to cup final after cup final and has played some of the most amazing football and energetic football. When you think about Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool side, you think about watching a game at Anfield, and then pick out, say, the Barcelona game, the game where they were losing and came back. You just think about a Klopp side, you think about energy. Mm-hmm. And he's brought energy and dynamism back into this Liverpool team, this Liverpool crowd. And I think he's run out of that a little bit. And the press conferences, the travel, the day-to-day grind. And so, yeah, the big problem for Liverpool is where do they go next? I'm sure they'll figure it out. But I can totally understand him just saying, do you know what? There is more to life than just bashing your head away at it day after day after day, year after year. And so fair play to him. He's decided to take a step away and do what's right for him, which is, you cannot argue with that.
Shaka, you told me your first thought was, of course, Stevie.
I think many people are like, goodness me, how's Stevie going to handle this news? He's already got his hands full away at Disney. Listen, like most here in the East Coast of the US, I wake up to this news and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If Jurgen Klopp had said this at this point last season when Liverpool weren't having a good season, you could understand. But Liverpool sitting top of the table as they are right now, and you just felt that it just didn't seem to add up. And then you go and I switched on that interview that he did with Liverpool TV, and it struck me how genuine he was, how human he was about it all. And then in a sense where the normal progression of things is for managers to run steel and their teams to run steel alongside them. So, and that it leads to the eventual dismissal of a manager. Here he is coming out and saying, listen, I'm running steel. I don't want the club to follow in that path. time to take some kind of an action now, so at least you can keep some of this momentum going. And I thought that was brave on his part, and one that, again, just kind of, as he always seems to have done, keep the club as a priority. And as much as he's saying that, and he then goes on to say, let's not make this about me. I'll answer your questions, and from there on, it's business as usual. And I thought, again, that was controlling a narrative about a manager who continues to put the club before himself in so many ways.
Just briefly, one of the things he said, one of the quotes I've seen from him today, was he said, nobody else knows and can tell me how I feel. He said, it's like driving the car at 150, 160 mile an hour down the motorway. He says, clearly the gas is starting to run out. He said, but I'm the only one that can see the needle moving.
Right.
And so for him, where this decision came, was it a week ago? Was it a month? Was it at the start of the season? Was it through last year? I don't know. But he's the only one that can see the needle moving. And as I said, I don't think, whilst there'll be a lot of worry and frustration back in Liverpool, I don't think anybody will have a problem with the fact that he feels it's right for him.
Mark Ogden was at the press conference today after this announcement was released. Did he announce it today because it was going to come out, Mark?
We don't know that, but that would seem the obvious conclusion. But he told Liverpool in November. So the alternative theory is that Liverpool in that time have been looking for a replacement, and they are now making progress, and they didn't want it to come out at the other end. They are looking at potential successors. So now that the secret's out there, the game is a gossipy industry, and once Liverpool start asking questions about the availability of managers, then clearly the question is going to be, why are you asking that question? So I do get the sense that Klopp wanted it out there, but also it felt a little bit like that there was a nudge towards this. He had a press conference yesterday when he could have announced it, and he didn't. So it does feel like it was about to break somewhere, and Liverpool thought the best way to do it is to control it ourselves. But like I say, when they are looking for a new coach, a new manager, obviously people are going to talk, because agents, managers, siblings, chairman, all know. So it was going to come out eventually. So they had to move today.
So the concern for Liverpool fans is how much of a distraction could this be between now and the end of the season? Klopp addressed that in that press conference.
When you spoke to the players and they asked you the questions probably that we're all asking today, how did you ensure with them, or what was the message about making sure this isn't a distraction because you're still fighting on four fronts?
The players did have a lot of questions. I spoke to the players all together, then I spoke to a few players after that. The players, we have a really strong bond, so they didn't ask questions. The disruption, I understand. I think of a lot of people from the outside who are not with us will be happy, blah, 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 stuff like this. It's your job to ask questions, uncomfortable questions, whatever. The distraction comes from outside. But to get distracted, you always need two parts. One who distracts and the other one who let it happen. And we will not let it happen. The fact that I said I will not be the manager for next year is not an excuse to do a step less or whatever. So we will be completely in it, and we will fight for everything. I'm here with 100%, and that's the good news. I just know I cannot do the job in the future, but I can do it very well right now, and that's what I will do.
It's not ideal, though, is it, Stevie? Because any poor performance now from Liverpool, from now to the end of the season, this will be a factor that people will point to.
Well, I think the key is what he said. He will make sure that inside Liverpool that won't be the case. And I actually don't believe that it's really going to be such a huge distraction. Anytime any press bring it up, he will absolutely smash it to smithereens very quickly, put a wet blanket on it and ask for the next question. And you'll find out what a distraction this will be, because against Norwich at home in the FA Cup, they better put some more nails in the roof, because the roof's going to come off when he walks out for the start of the game. And that's what's going to happen between now and the end of the season. You've got a bunch of players, you've got a squad of players, you've got a staff, and I'm talking about everybody in the building who, between now and that guy leaving the building, will be running through brick walls, doing anything to make his last period at the club a success. So I really don't see a distraction, partly because of the way he is, and just partly because there's going to be every time you step on the field, the players in particular and the crowd at Anfield are going to be behind him. They're going to want to give him a send off. So yeah, I'm less worried about what this does between now and the end of the season. And Augie might put me right. As far as I remember, everybody at Man United knew that Alex was leaving, and they went on and won the Premier League. So yeah, I don't think it's a big distraction.
We know what happened to them after Sir Alex Ferguson left. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Frank, I want to bring you into the conversation. As a player, would this prove to be a distraction at all?
Yes, it is, because you wonder, what's going to happen next season, what kind of coach or who kind of coach you're going to get, and of course it's a question mark. But they're all professional, and as a professional, you know that you have to think about the present and do the job you see in front of you, and what they have to achieve is the Premier League, is the Carabao Cup final, so and maybe the FA Cup. So it's Champions League as well. It's what you have to do right now. But of course, at the back of your head, you think about it. I just want to say it's a sad news for Stevie, for the Reds, but also for the Premier League, because he said he will never ever coach another club, and he was so charismatic. Even if he was sometimes in pain in the neck, he was somebody the Premier League needed, and that's very sad. And good luck for the next one, because as you mentioned, after Alex Ferguson, he's been trouble for Manchester United. After Arsene Wenger, he's been trouble for Arsenal. I don't know. It's hard to cope with the situation where you're a long-term coach and you get somebody else who's under pressure like hell, and which normally doesn't manage very well.
I've always said it's a bigger problem for Liverpool and Manchester City, not when the star players leave. It's when those two managers decide it's time to take a sabbatical or take some time off. That has been evident by the way they have managed wherever they've been, but particularly at these two clubs, that is the biggest headache above any star player, is these two guys at the helm.
Mark, obviously Stevie bringing up Alex Ferguson. Of course, it was the second time that he said he was going to retire. In fact, he did, because the first time it all turned out to be a mess. The big question now, I suppose, is who is going to replace Jurgen Klopp, and it's all about Javi Alonso at the moment.
That's a good idea.
Well, it'd be a good idea if Mark Ogden's internet worked, but that's all right, don't worry. Let's discuss then something that has been discussed a lot. Should we hear from Javi Alonso? Should we play that clip now? He was asked about by Archie Rintut today in the Bayer Leverkusen press conference about the possibility of him moving to Liverpool.
How shocked were you by the news with Jurgen Klopp this morning? And is there a time, maybe after the end of your contract at Leverkusen, where the Liverpool job would appeal to you?
Well, first of all, it was a surprise, but as well, I have huge respect for Jurgen, huge admiration. Before coming to Liverpool and during his year, it has even been bigger and it has grown. No, the way what he has achieved and the way he has achieved that. And at the moment, I am really happy here. I am enjoying my work here. I am feeling that each day it's a challenge. Each game is a challenge, and we are in an intense but in a beautiful journey here in Leverkusen. And I am trying to give my best to help my players be ready for the next thing. And that's my goal. What will come in next one, I don't know.
If I could just nachhaken, but when it comes to taking your career at your own pace, we've seen other ex-players have gone and taken jobs, and it's not gone as well as it has for you, for example, in terms of you look at the speed that you worked with Sociedad there and now coming here. Is pacing your career something which is important to you?
To be honest, I am not in that moment to think about the next step. I'm thinking about where I am right now, and I think that I am in a great place, and I am enjoying, and I think it's the right place. So that's all I can say. I don't know about the paces. My pace is what's going to be at the pace of the team on Saturday, to be honest, because that's what really matters. And I'm going to be happy when we are playing well and we deserve to win. And what's going to happen in the future, I don't know, and I don't really care at the moment.
Javi Alonso saying every single thing right there, you have to say to the question.
He was never, ever, ever, ever going to say anything other than the standard.
Well.
He had his bat straight, and he never moved it.
Who do you want, Stevie, as the next coach?
I absolutely don't know. Listen, it would be such a gamble. You know, that list that you put up, there's none of us can say there's a bad coach on it. Let's be honest. They're all good coaches. But to follow on from a guy like Klopp and to take a job the size of Liverpool, you need to be more than just a good coach. And Javi Alonso, in his football experience as a coach and manager, I'm not so sure he's got that to fall back on. You know, he's never faced any adversity. Everything's been smooth. You know, you look at Klopp. For all the success he had at Dortmund, he had some bad times. You know, losing cup finals is hard, and then you go through a period where you actually nearly get relegated. I mean, these are all things that at the time you wish didn't happen, but it's part of your makeup. It's part of your psyche, and then when these things are thrown at you, all of a sudden you've got somewhere to go to deal with it. Javi Alonso has none of that, so it would be a huge gamble for such a young coach to be thrust into the Liverpool job. Number one, just the fact that it's the Liverpool job, but number two, having to follow Jurgen Klopp. So right now, I really don't know. They're all good coaches, but do they have the character and do they have that little X factor that the great managers have in order to take over and be a success at Liverpool? I really don't know right now.
You might be
He's
looking
a bit dour, isn't he?
Who?
Stevie.
Well, why?
Not exactly like a party at Disney.
You think going to Disney's changing that? I think you could be looking at somebody.
Is it
somebody
poison chalice, whoever takes it?
No. I think you could be looking at somebody like. I know he might not be everybody's favourite, but Nagelsmann, right? You're looking at somebody who has been through that adversity that Stevie's talked about. Did a really good job. I mean, a very young manager as he was when he started and still is. What he did at Hoffenheim, then what he did at RB Leipzig.
Yeah, but since then he's rubbish at Bayern.
Hold on. Has Tuchel been brilliant at Bayern? No, he hasn't.
No.
So Nagelsmann will say, I went into Bayern, they didn't give me time, and he found that adversity because he got the sack. Now he's managing Germany for the time being. He's getting that experience.
And it's a disaster so far.
Well, listen, he's not a magician, is he? He's not. This German team's been on a downward spiral for a long, long time. All I'm saying is he's got something. And he's been through the ringer of going smaller clubs up to the big club in Bayern Munich. It is as big, if not bigger than Liverpool. And he'll say he was not given time, right? But he has the energy and he has more experience, certainly, than Xabi Alonso, to potentially have his hat in the ring and be in those lists to be talked about. I mean, I think there is still a good manager in there. Whether he's the genius that some people tend to think he is, I think that remains to be seen. But his argument will be, if you had let things be at Bayern Munich, things would have been fine. But they made a different decision. So I definitely think he is going to be in the reckoning.
But the problem is as well, isn't it? They're going to say, oi, we've given you the German job. We're hosting the Euros. We want you to be 100% focused on that, not dithering around saying who you want at Liverpool next season if he gets the job there.
Well, I'll go. Do you think Xabi Alonso, who we've just Archie Rintut has interviewed today, given all that spiel about he's only thinking about the next game, they're all thinking about this. They're all thinking a step ahead. And yeah, he wants to listen. If he wins the league with Leverkusen, what an achievement that would be. Because he was thinking about the Real Madrid job before Ancelotti signed a new 2-year deal. He's looking at this going, well, I've really enjoyed my time there as a player. There's a reporter. I'm doing really well at the moment. I'm the front. Of course they're thinking about it, and so is Julian Nagelsmann.
But there's that pressure now.
Yeah.
You're not playing the same way as Jurgen Klopp did. you're not giving us the same energy. This team is not the team that we want to see.
Yeah, coming in for a manager who's had the successes that Jurgen Klopp has is always going to be a difficult task, trying to fill those shoes. You may want to play a different style. You may ask different things of different players. So there's a lot to consider. And while I think Javi Alonso, because of his playing career with Liverpool, and he comes in with a longer honeymoon period than anybody else, it doesn't at all guarantee any kind of success. But he's quite clearly one of the young and upcoming managers of world football, and I think will be sought after very soon. So if you're Liverpool and you have this availability right now, you understand why Javi Alonso ticks so many of those boxes. At the same time, of the list, and with De Zerbi coming in at second, I think that's a very good fit, especially when you consider Brighton's playing style and who Liverpool have shown themselves to be. In terms of playing style, that also is a really good fit. For me, I probably put Nagelsmann as third in that list. There's some very good coaches on there, but a really big job that I'm not sure who or how you handle that kind of pressure.
Well, let's get a gauge off the man himself.
Which one?
Stevie, if I said to you Nagelsmann, what would be your reaction?
It won't be positive. He's not in the mood.
I don't disagree with what you said. You know, in terms of the experience and going through the ringer and not given a chance, absolutely. You know, the one thing I like about the De Zerbi one would be that you're getting a manager who's going to come in and play not the same, but a very, very, very similar type of football, which means that the move from Klopp to another manager, I think, would be a lot easier for the players. You know, depending on what kind of coach you bring in, you might knock them back a bit and have a completely different way of playing. I mean, you think of somebody like Trent Alexander-Arnold, a different manager who plays a completely different game. You know, how does that work? So, yeah, I don't disagree with Nagelsmann. In terms of the way De Zerbi plays the game, I would be ixy-pixy on the two of them. But I wouldn't have a problem with Nagelsmann, quite honestly.
What about Zidane, Frank?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it because for only one reason. I think there is the Euro this next summer. I don't know if Deschamps is going to carry on after that, and there is a possibility for Zizou to get that position, and I think he's not going to miss it, and he doesn't want to jeopardize anything, so I don't think he's going to go for it, waiting for the result of the national team, and not maybe hoping for something bad happening to the national team, but just hoping that maybe Deschamps doesn't want to carry on and get the job. So I don't believe that he's getting any option on the Liverpool job.
If you're in that Liverpool dressing room, who would you want, Frank?
I really think that Xabi Alonso will be a fantastic option, especially if he wins the Bundesliga with Leverkusen. He's going to come. He knows the club. He knows how it works. The way he plays the football is going to suit. I think he's going to keep on doing what Klopp is doing. He's very clever about that, and I see him as the best option. De Zerbi is a second position for me, but really Xabi Alonso seems to be somebody very smart, like Klopp is, knows how to keep on building what Klopp has made for the past almost 9 years. So he will be my favorite. And as a player, I would be in the dressing room and say, well, I would love to have that guy because he seems to be the copy of Klopp.
What about Tuchel? What about him trying to manoeuvre a scenario out of Bayern Munich? Because there's been, they're in a title race. They're not favourites at the moment. He might think, and we know he's been displeased with some aspects of the recruitment, not at all, because he got Harry Kane and one or two others. But everything to me just doesn't seem a bed of roses there with him.
Right.
And I don't know if there's any behind the scenes. He certainly has the experience. There is no, you couldn't.
But is this style of football what Liverpool want?
I can't answer that question. I'm just throwing it out there that it doesn't seem to me that it's a bed of roses between him and the hierarchy at Bayern Munich. He's a very experienced coach. I would not 100% rule out something like that happening.
Stevie, I know we've got to let you go for the fireworks at some stage, so you're not on extra time. A lot of people have asked whether or not you'd be interested in the job.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I think that'd be very good.
I've got loads of experience of bombing, so that'll come in handy.
Well, at least you could give the Liverpool Echo some first-hand headlines.
Oh yeah, imagine
There you go. Yeah,
Imagine Stevie on the touchline. Stevie, were you flying at the time that all this happened?
I was, yeah, and there was no internet or anything, and I somehow got a little message from Pete, the director, saying, "Can you come on?" I'm like, "Is he serious?" But of course, I had no idea that Klopp had announced he was leaving.
I thought he was going to say, get a message from the pilot. This is your captain speaking.
Wait, no, that's
for Mr. Nicol on board.
There is a Mr. Nicol on board. And who's been grumpier, you or your son, who of course is a massive Liverpool fan as well, Stevie?
Do you know what? We really haven't said much about it. We just kind of looked at each other and kind of, as I said, we were like, what are we going to do now? I mean, that's as far as we've got. We've been too busy jumping on and off rides and walking. I've done 3 miles this afternoon already.
Oh my goodness!
Thought your cheeks looked a bit red.
Yeah, and why's your top button done up
And I was
like
on a
that? What are you
roller coaster.
hiding?
Hey, they duped me into getting on a roller coaster. I never saw a thing. I had my eyes shut and I was holding on for dear life.
Which one did you go on?
The Galaxy thingies
Oh,
of the
Guardians
Galaxy.
of the Galaxy. That's quite fast,
Yeah.
Stevie. That's a big boy one.
I'd like to have seen a GoPro in his
never
head.
I know, look at that. What a lovely day you had.